Okay, well, just for the record, these are not all of the books that I got in this haul, but that's everything I could hold at the same time. Okay, going down. Hi everyone, and welcome to my October/November book haul. I have a feeling as if I haven't done a book haul in a while, which is not true, but I've been meaning to film this for a while. I've been accumulating books, even though I kind of tried my best not to buy any books, but I was still kind of receiving books for review and also getting some of the releases that I pre-ordered, so I do have quite a few books to share. Apologies about the background noise, but I have my window open, otherwise I might completely expire in this sweater. So it's a busy night. And there are some church bells. I don't know if you can hear them, but anyway, back to books. So these books are going to be in no particular order. I have adult fiction, I have YA fiction, I have plays, I have, I believe, one manga, so it will be quite eclectic, but most of these books are going to be either fantasy or sci-fi-ish plus literally fiction. Well, yeah, just eclectic. Let's just get down to it. The first two books that I have here I got for free, all thanks to a fellow member in my book club, so thank you so much to Jessica. And the first one is Colm Tóibín's Brooklyn. This is the book that the movie was based on. I have not watched the movie and I have not read the book, so I'm looking forward to reading it. This is literally fiction based on a story about a woman who moves from Ireland to Brooklyn. And this all happens around 1950s, and this is the time period that I'm interested in right now, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. And the second book that I got from her is The Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig, and I've been following Matt Haig on Twitter for a while. He's a lovely guy. He speaks out about mental health a lot, about things that happen in America, and I'm looking forward to reading this book because I know it's one of those Christmassy middle grade books, and it's quite popular, I believe. I might be wrong here, maybe it's popular in my world, who knows, but I do have this book is an audiobook. I believe it's read by Stephen Fry, and I have it on Audible, but I have not listened to it because I was waiting for the book itself, and this is a lovely Christmassy edition, so looking forward to reading this one during Christmas holidays. Next, I have a whole bunch of different plays, and I'm going to start with the one that I purchased myself. And the first play that I have here is Betrayal by Harold Pinter. I watched Harold Pinter's No Man's Land as produced by National Theatre. I believe it came out in December of last year, at least as a broadcast, and it had Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart in it. It was an amazing play. I was absolutely smitten with both actors in their respective roles. Loved the play. I really want to read the play as well, and I decided to read more of Harold Pinter's as well, and while looking up stuff online, the books that he produced, I saw this play mentioned, so I decided to get it. I believe I got a used copy because there is a bit of a wobbling here on this side, but it's yeah, it might be a bit older edition. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's an older edition. Cannot really tell right now, but most importantly, it's by the same publisher. I have a lot of plays by the same publisher, Faber and Faber, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Cannot really tell you what it's about. Which is, I mean, I'm just assuming this play is about betrayal just because of the title. As you know, I prefer not to know anything before diving into books, but I do trust my own taste in picking up the books that I like, so I'll let you know how it goes. Forgot to mention that the production of No Man's Land by Harold Pinto and National Theatre, I do have a review of that on my blog, and I'll provide the link down below. Next, I have several plays from Playwrights Canada Press that I received for review, so thank you so much to them for providing me with these copies. And I have several plays here, and I'm going to talk very briefly about all of them right now. So the first play that I have here is In Spirit by Tara Began. This is the story about a girl who's a ghost because she was killed, and slowly she kind of goes through the whole story trying to remember what happened, and while she's remembering, we discover what actually happened, and the whole story is both the mix of memories and kind of first person dialogue. It's a very interesting play. I picked it up for that specific reason. Plus, it's written by someone from indigenous community, and it is about the murder of an indigenous girl. I also happened to be at the launch of this play, and Tara read a snippet from the play, which I really enjoyed. I think it's going to be a pretty creepy play because we're talking about a murder of a child. But it's a very slim play. I'm quite ashamed that I haven't got into it yet, but hopefully I'll do that very soon because I need to review it. Same goes for this play, and believe me, I did not choose it because it has Fox on the cover, although it was an additional bonus, and this is How We Got Here by Keith Barker. I was also at both the overall fall launch for Playwrights Canada Press, and I was also at the launch for this specific play. Keith read 2 separate episodes from this play, loved his redemption. This is the story about the families and son of one of the couples passed away due to suicide, and this story just looks at how families cope with this by basically not talking or acknowledging that there is an issue. And this is a story, I believe, set in Northern Ontario, so quite local. I really loved the way Keith portrayed the characters, especially 2 main male protagonists, and there is also mentions of domestic problems and basically how dysfunctional families can be and how dysfunctional relationships can be. Really loved it. I mean, those pieces that I heard, because I still have not read this play. I know that it's going to be heartbreaking because it has to do with mental health and illness, mental illness and suicide. Cannot talk, seriously, but I'm looking forward to reading it, especially since I listened to Keith read parts of it. Most importantly, Keith also used his own experience, and someone in his family also passed away from suicide, so this is a very, coming from deep within emotional piece for him, and yes, need to read it very soon. Next, I have a play that I fortunately have already read, finally, and this is Outside by Paul Dunn. So, Outside is intended as an educational play for grades between 6 and 12, and this is a story about the boy named Daniel who has to move to a different school due to bullying. And 2 of his close friends reminiscent about what happened and how everything went down. At the same time, Daniel in his new school is meeting with the Gay and Straight Alliance representatives or committee, and he talks about his experience because he was being bullied for being gay and how everything went down. So this is a very also emotional and very touching play. I have a full review for this play and the production itself on my blog. I was fortunate enough to be invited by Playwrights Canada Press to the performance of this play, which happened at Buddy's in Bad Times Theatre here in Toronto. This play is actually intended just for touring, and this play does tour around Ontario and is being shown in different schools. Fun fact, this play has already been seen by 34,000 kids, which is amazing, and I will provide the link down below to my review, so check this one out. I gave this play 4 stars for the script itself and the production because it's slightly more enhancing than the text itself and more comprehensive, so to say. So I gave the performance itself 5 stars. It's an amazing play, absolutely loved it, and I also got my play signed by Paul, which is very sweet. So thank you so much, Canada Press, for providing me with the opportunity to watch this play as well, not only just read it. Next, I have this play, which is actually in a cover, and this is Queer Plays or Queer Play. This is the anthology of different texts by queer ladies, and this is an amazing anthology. It is collected and edited by Moynihan King, and I was also invited by Playwrights Canada Press to the same location, but is in bad times, where they did a lot of pieces from this collection and also talked about it. It was an amazing evening, very queer, like intensely queer, I would say. Amazing representation, but also a very lovely message, because Moynihan herself, she is writing a PhD, and the way she's writing it is that she's looking at different queer theater performances in specific time period. And while she was looking at the time period between 2012 and current times, she just realized that there were no anthology or basically no scientific text that she could refer to. So she decided to write it herself, and here you go, this is the text. So if you ever decide to write a PhD or any thesis based on performances and theater by queer ladies, you might as well just reference this book. I have not yet read this book because it's a real chunker, and it's not only just text but also performances, dialogues, monologues, and interviews. So it's a quite of you know, an intense read. There are some pictures from different productions as well. I'm looking forward to reading this one. It's definitely not going to be an easy read or a quick read just because it's very dense, but I'm looking forward to doing that, maybe in small parts and pieces, because we were lucky to get small performances from different plays. A couple of performances were done by the actors, some performances were done by the playwrights themselves, which was awesome. We had a lot of comedians there as well at the presentation. So I'm looking forward to reading a couple of plays that were in the presentation, just to get a better understanding of the plot. But for now, yeah, it's definitely on my TBR, and I definitely need to read it, hopefully by the end of the year, but I don't know. I cannot make any promises. Yeah, it's a big one. Okay, moving on, I have this book, which is The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. This is the collection of Insta poetry, as you call it, or prose poetry as I prefer it, by Rupi Kaur, and she's an amazing lady. She's from Toronto. She is incredibly whimsical and incredible, she's basically just magic. I went to the presentation of this book at the beginning of October, and it was fabulous. So this book is published by Simon & Schuster, and there was a representative of Simon & Schuster there, and they said how the first book by Rupi Kaur, which I read and really enjoyed, Milk and Honey, it was sold with, I believe, over 2 million of copies over the world, which is amazing. This is amazing, especially for a debut. And Rupi released the second book of her prose poetry, which is lovely. I have not read it, and I'm actually ashamed. I expected myself to read this by now, but I haven't, just because I went to the presentation, and it was not just the presentation but also the reading. So Rupi read poems from this book and also her previous book. That's why I had this whole feeling as if I already know what this book has, and that the whole evening was magical. I don't think I made a separate post about it on my blog, but I did make some pictures. I took some pictures and posted on Instagram, so I'll try to insert them down below or somewhere on the screen if I can find them. But yeah, this is an amazing thing. If you haven't heard about Rupi Kaur, definitely check her out. I would say probably Milk and Honey is a bit more dark than this one. At least this is the impression that I got based on the presentation. I'm not sure if it's actually the case, but since I gave 4 stars to Milk and Honey, I believe this one will be definitely a 4 or maybe even a 5-star read. Looking forward to reading it. I have 2 books by John Le Carre, who I was inspired to purchase these books when I went to the interview with John Le Carre broadcast at Cineplex, and I have the post about that whole experience on my blog. I will provide the link down below, but I just wanted to say that that was sort of a tie-in to his presentation of his latest book, which is called A Legacy of Spies, and this is a new book about George Smiley, who is a British spy. Let me start by saying that I read only 2 books by John Le Carre. I watched a movie based on John Le Carre's book, and that was Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which I absolutely loved. It's one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite books, but I I have not read the other two books in that trilogy or anything to do with George Smiley, which made me really sad because I just kind of got pulled into the whole YA fantasy and sci-fi instead of like just going back to spy novels and mystery and murdery books. Murdery, what is this? Mystery and murder books. And this one is definitely something that I'm looking forward to reading, but I want to catch up with other books in George Smiley series first. So while I purchased this one, I also got myself this one, and this is the first book that John le Carré ever published, and this is the first book about George Smiley, and it's called Call for the Dead, so I'm looking forward to read this one. It's not very thick, but I know it will be like packed with action. George Smiley is a very interesting character. He is, so the whole setting of all of the books is during the Cold War. So there are a lot of spies, counter spies, a lot of espionage that has to do with USSR. It's a very interesting period. And while reading Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, I was deeply in love with the writing style as well as the depth of research and information that is in the book. First of all, John le Carré himself worked for MI5. That's why he's using a lot of his experiences in creating the world and creating his characters, which I absolutely love. And one of the things that he mentioned during the interview for a Legacy of Spies presentation, he said how maybe nowadays we need someone like George Smiley who's so sad and he's so loyal, he's so down to earth in spite of everything that is happening. There are so many people who are trying to, you know, buy him or set him up or do something like that, but no, he is still very loyal to the Britain, and he just goes on being loyal. And this is amazing because I do agree, because nowadays we don't have that many positive, loyal characters when it comes to something that huge, not just loyalty to friends or family. We're talking about being loyal to the state. So this is a wonderful thing to read, especially nowadays, I think. And John le Carré has a very interesting style. So his spy novels are not very action-packed in the sense of explosions, car chases, gunfire, you know, like for example like James Bond. No, they're very different. They're very atmospheric. There are a lot of small details and small, you know, things that happen in the novel, small clues, and you have to kind of decipher what is happening, which I absolutely love, because these books make you think, not just you read the action, boom, done. No, these books make you think. Looking forward to reading both of these novels. So this one is the very first one about George Smiley, and this one is the latest. John le Carré is an amazing person. Absolutely love him. Wish him all the best, because he's over 80 years old and he's still going strong and writing everything longhand. This is amazing. He writes everything longhand. I cannot believe it. Absolutely love him and cannot wait to read both of these books. While we are on the topic of murder mysteries, I'm going to show you two more books. So I got myself, do not laugh, I got myself a complete collection of Sherlock Holmes stories. Why I say do not laugh? Just because I do have more than one copy of this, but this is a specific edition that I really wanted to get. This is a Penguin edition, and this is like a collector's edition. It has floppy things, very nice artwork here. You see rigged edges, very fancy. It was not too expensive, but I also wanted to have something very nice for myself in December, like an early birthday gift. Basically, I explain everything as an early birthday gift or Christmas gift or something like this. Why I decided to purchase this collection is because I only have the whole stories of Sherlock Holmes in 2 parts printed as mass market paperbacks. I believe they're also by Penguin Random. I'm not sure actually what is the publisher. Maybe it's Oxford something. But those 2 are very small, thick, and the font is tiny. Plus, the paper is just like feels as if it's you know, like newspaper paper, like very thin and gray. Plus, I do have editions, like a Sherlock BBC tie-in editions, but they do not have all the stories. So I wanted to have something in one binder, one book, and this is what I've got, and it's very floppy and very cute. And look at this. There is a murder scene. Ah! Can you guess where it's from? Obviously, it's Studying Scarlet. So yeah, I'm a huge nerd, but here you go. And another thing related to Sherlock is Sherlock the Blind Banker manga. I had it pre-ordered and it came out at the beginning of October, I believe. I even got it early. So I'm looking forward to reading it. And I mean, like, I'm a Sherlock fan. I had to get it. Yeah. So no excuses, no explanations, you got it. Next, I have a copy of The Great American Whatever by Tim Federley. I suck at names, and when the font is like this, I don't even know how to read it. But this was one of the recommendations that I had on Goodreads, and I decided to pick it up. I was lucky to get it from Book Outlet, so it was fairly cheap. This is, I believe, a YA coming out story, so cannot really say much besides that about it, and I assume it's set in America, just based by the title, but I'm just joking. Yeah, good thing about this book is that it received a starred review by Kirkus Reviews, which is a very good sign that this is going to be a very good book, and I'm looking forward to reading it. As always, I need to be in a certain mind space to read literary fiction, especially contemporary, but hopefully I will get to it. Next, I have a copy of William Burroughs' Cities of the Red Knight, and I don't even know what this book is about. I can read you a blurb at the back, which does not really give me much, but sounds very fascinating. While young men wage war against an evil empire of zealous mutants, the population of this modern inferno is afflicted with the epidemic of radioactive virus. This opium-infused apocalyptic vision from the legendary author of Naked Lunch is the first book in the trilogy with The Place of Dead Roads and his final novel, The Western Lands. No idea what it's about. Seriously, but sounds pretty epic and weird, and I'm all for it. Next, I have a copy of Mysterious Skin by Scott Heim, and I have heard of this movie because this is the movie cover. I've heard of this movie back in the day when I used to work at British Council, because we had this exact movie with this exact cover on our shelves. So I remember this cover so vividly that I was under impression that I read the book, but I haven't. And when I realized it while, browsing through different tags and Goodreads and seeing this book to like pop up over and over, I was like, hey, I'm sure I read it. And then I was like, oh, actually I haven't, so might as well get it. I purchased a used copy, I believe also from Book Outlet, so I got it for cheap. I don't think I can summarize this book. You'll have to look it up. I'm sorry, I'll provide the link down below. It's just, there are certain books that I cannot summarize. Sorry, but it's violent, and there's bad stuff happening, so I'm a bad reviewer, I know. Next, I have two books by amazing Jane Campbell, who is a writer, poet, and booktuber. And I purchased her second book in the series, More Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops. I read her first book, Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops, and really enjoyed it. It was hilarious, so I decided to purchase a second copy. Unfortunately, I was looking for the second copy in paperback, but it's only available in hard copy, like hardcover copy, which is fine, but now I'm sad because my first book is a paperback and now they do not match even though the covers are the same. It's hilarious. I bet I can open any page and it will be just hilarious. I knew I would find a quote which would be amazing, so here we go. A woman is holding a copy of Weight Watchers book in one hand and The Hunger Games in the other. Which of these dieting books would you recommend the most? It's amazing. Check this one out. And the second book that I have here, also by Jen Campbell, is the one which has the most stunning cover ever. Look at this. This is just epic. This is the collection of short stories by Jen. I pre-ordered this book months ago because I was like, oh my god, Jen, releasing a book with beautiful cover. Plus short stories, magical realism. I need to get it, so I got it. I want to read it so much, but I haven't yet, and it's just so pretty. It's so pretty. I don't want to break the spine. Next, I have a whole bunch of YA books, and hopefully we'll go through them very quickly. First book that I have here is Last Seen Living by Caleb Royery. Probably butchering his last name, I'm so sorry, but this is a thriller. This is a YA thriller, and I know that it has queer protagonists, or maybe gay, I'm not sure, but I follow Caleb on his Twitter account, and his book was also recommended to me, as well as its sequel, The White Rabbit, by another writer, Dietrich, whose book The Love Interest I read, and even though it had problems, I thought it was very funny. Sometimes it was just pure fun and nothing else. So I'm looking forward to reading this book. I like when authors recommend their favorite books by other authors. So I'm looking forward to reading it, and I can give you sort of like a tagline from this book. His girlfriend has disappeared. How can he uncover her secrets without revealing his own? Next, I have a copy of Zero Repeat Forever by G.S. Prendergast. And this is a sci-fi. This is a new sci-fi novel, a recent release, YA, and I've been meaning to read this book for like ever since it came out. It was just popping. I mean, look at this cover. It's so attractive, and it was popping in my searches on Indigo, kind of, you know, taunting me because for whatever reason this book is not in my library. So I couldn't get it from the library. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll purchase it. Do you think I read it? Of course not. It's been sitting on my shelf for a month and I have not read it. What is wrong with me? I have no idea. Maybe you know, because I don't. So this is a story about a world in which humans and non-humans have a war going on between them, and we have two protagonists from both sides that have to join forces to survive, essentially. There is really not that much information in the synopsis, so I wouldn't be able to tell you much about the plot, but this is what I gathered from reading the summary at the back of the book. But also it keeps popping up in all of my searches, and you know what, when something is not reachable, for example, I could not get it from the library, I had to buy it. No reason, really. I should stop doing that, but here you go. Speaking of sci-fi, I got myself a copy of Artemis by Andy Weir, and this is one of my most anticipated releases of this fall because I loved The Martian, and I loved the book way more than I liked the movie. I got to see the movie at TIFF when it was premiering. It was a world premiere, and I liked it. I thought it was very spectacular, but they also changed the ending, which kind of iffed me a bit, and yeah. I did enjoy the book way more. Have not read this one. I first got it as an audiobook, but then I returned it because I realized that I don't have time to listen to an audiobook, and I'm usually way faster while reading an actual physical copy. That's why I got it. Do you think I read it? No, I have not. But this is what Christmas break is for, people. This is what Christmas break is for. And I'm really peeved by the fact that there is this sticker. So I got this book for $25 from Indigo, and then it went on sale and it got cheaper. I hate when it happens with new releases, but what can you do? This is life. Books have to be sold, and authors and booksellers have to make money. That's the world. Next, I have a copy of Winter Sun by J. Jones. I'm surprised that I have not bought this book yet, or I have not read it yet. I'm really surprised. I wonder how I have not bought it yet. Maybe I have and I forgot. That would be a bummer. But anyway, this is a fantasy YA standalone. I would not be able to tell you much about it because, as always, I tend to read synopsis, like, you know, maybe like one line, and then I forget everything because I like it this way. I'm sorry. But I know that this book has queer protagonists. That's why I bought it, as I always do. And this is a standalone, which is great because there are not enough standalones in this world, and we are always sucked into trilogies or series or something like that. If it turns out to be not a standalone, I will be very disappointed. But I believe it's a standalone. I have a feeling as if this might be based on a fairy tale because there is a Goblin King, and it slightly reminds me of the plot of the Bluebeard, but I might be mistaken, so don't quote me on that. Looking forward to reading it. Once again, no idea when, but it's a fantasy, so there is a high chance that I might go for this one first before everything else. Next, I have a copy of Rune Binder by Alex R. Color, and this is the book number 1, and I believe it's a debut novel. It also has queer theme or queer protagonist in it. One of the members in our book club mentioned it, and he really enjoyed this book, so I'm hoping that I will like it as well. It's a new release. I believe it's a release of October or maybe November. I pre-ordered this book just based on reviews that I heard, and hopefully I'll get to it sometime soon. Have not read any good, magic witches type of books, except for Wind Witch, that I absolutely adore, as I adore Susan Dennard, who's the queen. Let me know if you have read this book, because so far I heard only positive things, but since it's a debut novel, there might be some things which are not very positive, and I would like to know that, so let me know in the comments below. Next, I have a copy of the book that I should have received this summer, I think, but I haven't. And this is Mask of Shadows by Lindsay Miller. I have pre-ordered this book months ago, and it was pre-ordered through Indigo as a hardback, but then imagine what happened. It was not delivered to me. The order got cancelled because the book went out of stock. Have no idea how it happened. I have no idea why it happened, but I know that this book was unavailable as hardback for a bit, and only paperback was available. Maybe there was a delay in production, that's also possible, but I got no communication. I just got like here's your canceled order, here's your refund, that's it. And I was a bit annoyed at Indigo because I didn't know what was happening. There was no information. So I waited for a bit and thought about getting this book from the library, but then I was like, nah, I might as well purchase it, as once again I heard some people saying relatively good things about it. This is, I believe, a book number 1 in a trilogy, and I don't really know much about it, but it also involves queer theme, so that's just why I buy books, to read about queer characters, or queer relationships, or queer worlds, or just queer stuff. But I'm happy I have it now. Next, I have a copy of Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. That's another book that is a new release of this year. I'm yet to read it. Also heard fairly good things from the same people in my book club, which means that there is hope that this book is not bad, but I believe it's a debut novel, and it's about a carnival or a circus, which is quite cute, and I like it. Looking forward to reading this one, but also, I mean, the cover. Gorgeous, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous purple cover. And it's blurbed by several authors, which is nice. Wicked, wicked to the core, the city will burn forevermore. I love this tagline. Next, I have a copy of the book that I read and loved. And I loved it so much that even though I was provided with a review copy by Entangled Teen, I still went and bought my own because I loved it so much. And this is 27 Hours by Tristina Wright. I give this book 5 stars. 5 freaking stars. This is an amazing debut novel. This is a sci-fi YA with an incredible diverse cast. Like an incredible... Tristina went an extra mile to include all diverse characters in her cast. This is a terrific book in terms of representation, and it's also a very solid sci-fi book because there is a lot of action, a lot of stuff happening, a lot of oh my god moments. I have a full review of this book on my blog. We'll provide it down below, but I just want to say that if you love sci-fi and you love representation, you'll probably love this book. If you're not into, you know, oh my god, action and a whole bunch of teenagers saving the world, this may not be the book for you. But if you like that, you will love this one. Also gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous cover. Love this cover. So beautiful. Yes, Hour Zero means war. And the last but definitely not least is the book that was actually recommended to me by Tristina Wright, and this is Timekeeper by Tara Sim. I went on Twitter and started to harass Tristina, and I mean harass in the nice way because I'm not a stalker, I'm a very nice person, just FYI. But I asked her, and Tristina was incredibly sweet to provide me with various recommendations for books. So this was one of the books that she recommended, and as a matter of fact, Tara is mentioned in the acknowledgement section of 27 Hours, so I assume they know each other and they're friends, most probably. But this is another book that I really have not heard much of, but started to look into. This is a debut, I believe, and this has to do with a time and being a timekeeper and messing with time and something weird happening. So this is a fantasy book, YA. I believe it's a standalone, but I'm not sure. I will provide the link to the Goodreads page of this book down below, so you can check it out. But it also has a queer character in it, so this was another thing that attracted me to this book. Another thing that I want to mention is that this book was also read by someone in my book club, and I believe they liked it. So that is another endorsement, so it's a good sign for me, and hopefully I'll get to it soon. I know I say that about a lot of books, but I genuinely love all the books that I get because I do not believe in buying a book which you hate. What's the point? There is no point, really. And this one has a rather pretty cover. It's rather shiny. If you have read this book, please let me know down below. I would love to know what you thought. So this is it. These are all the books that I got between October and November, and it's a lot of books. How did this happen? I know that I got some of them for free for review, but how? I have no idea. I thought I was not buying anything. It definitely felt as if I was not buying anything. But here we go. I have a whole pile of books on my floor. Well done. Well done, me. As always, thank you so much for watching. All information will be down below in the description box. All the links to my website, to my writing website, and also information about how you can buy the first issue of the zine, which actually came out today. So I'm filming this on December 5th, which is Tuesday, and officially the first issue is out. Our zine has been born. Officially. Super exciting. Ta-da! This is how our zine looks in a print version. You can buy both EPUB and a physical copy of our zine from our website. As it stands right now, the physical copy is being sold for $15 Canadian, and the EPUB version or digital version is sold for $3. But if you sign up for our newsletter at WORDASHES.com, you will receive a 75% discount code for the digital version of the zine, so you can buy it basically for cents. Have a look at it, and if you decide that you want to purchase this glorious, absolutely amazing physical copy, physical copy, you can do that on our website as well. So for now, we're offering flat shipping for both US and Canada, so check that one out. And all the prices on our website already include the tax, so don't worry about getting taxed or getting to pay extra money. So yeah, super exciting. This is our baby. My friend and I have been working on this for months. This is our creation. We've been meaning to create a zine for quite a while, and this is the first issue. It does not have any particular theme. It just has a lot of art and different short stories, flash fiction, one-line stories, and prose poetry as well. So a whole different range of genres between fantasy, sci-fi, magical realism, romance, whatever you want to say. So there are a lot of stuff in here, a lot of goodies, and it's 24 pages. As you can tell, this is a typical letterhead size, US letterhead, 18.5 by 11 inches. It's glorious. Matte finish, and I love it. It's an amazing product of a lot of hard work, so I hope you will be able to appreciate it as well and join us in our creative journey. So sign up at WORDASHES.com, just get yourself EPUB version to have a look. If you would like to review a copy of our zine, I would love to provide you with a digital copy of our zine absolutely for free. Just send me a note either down below in the comments or send me an email to wordashes@gmail.com or just sign up on our website wordashes.com, either or, and provide your contact information so I can get in touch with you and discuss it. But yeah, super excited, super happy. Please spread the word. We need all the help we can get. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you very soon. Bye. And Patrick, oh my god, I'm blanking out on the name. Oh gosh, this is so embarrassing. Wait a second. And